So when I was 18, I got this tiny little rose on my shoulder, and I knew that my mom would never be crazy about it. Like she would hate the fact that I got it. Um, but I wanted one. Roses symbolize love, and for me, I don't think at that point in my life I ever got flowers, roses, let alone flowers. But it was love, and it was a symbol of love. And I needed that. I never had that in my life. So I wanted the rose. To me, that was putting something on my body that said, I am loved, even though I wasn't. But it was something that was put there to give me hope. The interesting thing is, right after I got it, this tiny little thing, compared to what I have now, I went to see my mom at the canvas shop. And she's like, hey, how you doing? I was like, ah. And, she's like, what happened? Did you get a tattoo? And she knew about it. Oh, God damn it. But anyway, she got over it. Just like she got over all the rest of everything that I've done.
Can't be denied. Yet neon scream from loved one eyes.
Maybe a year later, I wound up getting a big dragon on my right hip. Big. And my reason for doing that was because dragons are very spiritual creatures. And, I considered myself to be spiritual, or what I knew to be spiritual at that point in time. But also in retrospect, when I'm thinking about it, they're also very strong, very fierce, and very protective creatures. And they have tens of thousands of scales that are so dense that they can't be punctured. There's no way that anybody would be able to puncture me. My heart is protected, my body is protected, my soul is protected. Nobody can get through to me. If I'm a spirit or a spiritual creature and I'm mythical and, I am so, I want to say revered and feared and fierce and so rare, that my strength is something that would always be there. And I put it in a place that, technically would not really be seen except for in the summer, but, I worked so much, you never really saw it anyway, but that was the reason why I got that.
Safety measure, serpent tattoo, flip side of charm, love can't get through.
And then maybe a year later, I covered up my little tiny rose with a bigger rose. So the head of the flower was larger, like the size of my Nutella lid. With a longer stem, and it covered it. And it was like blues and purples instead of red with a green stem. So it was blues and purples. And the reason why I did that is I wanted to cover up something that I had gotten so long ago that didn't really exist for me. Love never really existed. I didn't have it. I didn't get it. I didn't give it. I didn't even know what, and I still don't know what love is. I do love my cats. I think that's love. They unconditionally love me, and I unconditionally love them and feed them and give them electric and shelter. So I put a larger rose on there. Because at that point in my life, I needed more love. I needed something. I needed something because I had nothing. I had lots of friends and I was doing fun, cool stuff and, whooping and a hollering and whooping and a whopping. But it was all empty. Everything was always empty. And I figured if I had something on my shoulder or my body that, symbolized love, that maybe somebody would look at it and say, oh, she's a loving person, or I want to love her, or she deserves to be loved, or...
Past, longing grew, scarlet hope morphed to bruise.
years later, or maybe 10 years later. Let me think about that for a second. So, yeah, it was maybe 15 years later, is on that spot. I covered it up again because third time's a charm. Made Mother Crone, Life, Death, Rebirth, the Trinity. I covered it up with a tree of life that was entwined by two lovers. So it's a male and a female, and they're pressed up against each other, and their hands come around and they form the branches of the trees, and then you have the tree. And I have all the chakra colors around it. I had done my Reiki certifications, and I was really connecting more with myself and nature, and the underlying moral of the story is love. So everything that changed in my life, I didn't need it, I didn't want it, I didn't give it, I wasn't asking for it, but I still was, but it was in a different way. So life comes from love and love comes from life, which is why I did the two lovers together, because without another, technically, life doesn't really go on. You can't go on alone. You just can't. When I was in Ireland in Wicklow, they have the ferryman sculpture, and the ferryman sculpture is in this mucky pond with all this green pond scum on top of it. And he's wading through the pond, and he's dragging his boat behind him, which is sinking. And the boat is sinking, and he freezes in his path because he lacks that human touch, because he thought he could do everything by himself. He became hardened, and I didn't want to become hardened. So for all that time between getting my second larger, bigger love rose to getting the tree, I was hardening. And then I realized, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be a soulmate, whether I'm physically active with them or not, or intimate with them or not. It could just be another person in my life who just loves me genuinely for who I am, and I love them. It could be you. It could be you that, gives me life, helps me with my life, helps my tree grow. It's what we do. We are light unto others, so it didn't necessarily have to come from another. And I realized that, it comes from me. And now I definitely have more love for myself. Around that, I have a little dragonfly flying around the tree, and music bars, because the vibration from the music is passionate to me. It's a passion for me with my photography.
Limbic lure of Trinity, morph blue rose into life's tree. Lust and